Hello, my name is Stefanie Powers. Like millions of Americans, I too am looking after an elderly parent. This bill concerns me deeply, and I feel it's vital to families and their loved ones. It's called the Next of Kin bill, and it's the result of one family's tragic experience. Elaine Sullivan was an active 71-year-old living alone in Chicago when she accidentally fell and wound up in the hospital. Her closest relatives, her daughter and granddaughter, Janet and Laura Greenwald, live in California. 6 days passed. Elaine Sullivan slipped into a critical condition, and neither her daughter or her granddaughter were contacted. Despite the fact that Janet Greenwald's name was clearly printed on her mother's chart, the hospital made no attempt to call her. Finally, when they did call, it was too late. It was too late for Janet to get to Chicago in time. Elaine Sullivan died absolutely and unnecessarily alone.
Hi, I'm Leeza Gibbons from the TV show Extra. I wanted to take some time out today to tell you about something that I find tremendously important. When I first heard the Greenwald story, I could not believe that something like this could happen in the 21st century. I mean, the entire world is a mouse click away, yet a hospital didn't remember to phone a patient's family for over a week? I guess it really shouldn't have surprised me, though, because I've done so many stories about medical tragedies over the years on my talk show, and I'm always touched by the tremendous impact they have on the patients' families. And that's why I'm so glad that I can be a part of Janet and Laura's legislative efforts and support the Next of Kin bill. Every day on the news, we hear about our government's efforts to either try to cut down on medical errors or to protect patients' rights. Well, this bill will accomplish both. When an unconscious patient comes into an emergency room, he can't tell the doctor anything about his medical history, about the prescriptions he's been taking, the surgery he's had, or the medications he's allergic to. But in most cases, his family can. And that's what the Next of Kin bill is all about. It will require the hospital to call the unconscious patient's family or emergency contact so that they will be able to provide a medical history and make critical decisions until the patient is able to do so for himself. After all, it's a patient's right to have his next of kin or his chosen decision maker contacted and allowed to make those decisions. What this bill does is set brief guidelines and a specific time frame for that notification. It must be done within 24 hours. Right now, there is no law, no regulation, nothing forcing medical people to do this except that it is the right thing to do. And as somebody's mother, as somebody's daughter, as somebody's wife, it scares me, and it would break my heart to think that someone I love could be alone, could be unconscious, incapacitated, could be sick or dying without me knowing about it, without me being there, and without me being on site to fight every way that I could for that loved one's rights. Janet and Laura, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited about the possibilities for this Next of Kin bill, and I encourage all of you to do what you can to make it a reality.
Hi, I'm Josh Taylor from Days of Our Lives. You know, several years ago I met Jan and Laura Greenwald when we worked on the Hogan family together. Jan came and asked me to autograph a picture for her mother, and it seems a little strange now that I look back that now I'm talking to you about a bill that has resulted from circumstances of her death. The reason I feel like talking to you about this, my mother also is older. We have since moved her now down to Phoenix into a retirement home, but she was living by herself back then, and I just can't believe when Jan told me the story that to hear that her mother is in the hospital and it's been too late to get back to see her, and that to find out that her mother's been in the hospital for 6 days and no one has tried to get in touch with her, that just is extraordinary to me. I just found that hard to believe, and it just does not make sense. So I am asking you to please pay attention to this bill. It simply is good for hospitals. It's good for doctors, too. If you have a relative there or someone who knows the patient making decisions for that patient, then they are less likely to come back and go against the hospital or sue the hospital for wrongdoing in this case because they were the ones giving the information. It seems to be, to me, a common sense situation. Now, I know that that many of our laws and many of our rules are not created around common sense. I've always felt they should be. It's a crying shame. What we have now, basically, other than in 4 states, is that hospitals simply are required to try to get in touch with a surrogate decision maker, relative, friend, etc., only because it's the right thing to do. Well, I think it should be more than that. If it were the right thing to do, which it is, and everybody did the right thing, we wouldn't have a problem. But that is not the case. It also seems to be a common sense thing to do, to get in touch with a relative or a surrogate decision maker. But apparently, we must legislate common sense. And if we must legislate common sense, let's do it. That is the right thing to do. I am saying, please, vote yes on this bill. It is the right thing to do. It's the common sense thing to do. Let's make it right, folks. It's your parents as well as my parents. It's your friends as well as my friends. Please, please pay attention to this, and please vote yes on this bill.
My name is Shea Farrell. I'm the creative manager at David E. Kelly Productions in Manhattan Beach, California. And I have a keen interest in the next of kin bill, or the proposal to make it a universal bill. In addition to knowing the Greenwald family, I am certainly behind the need to reevaluate our present situation of information that is divulged when one of our loved ones, family or otherwise, are admitted to a hospital and are unable to communicate their wishes. Now, I say this somewhat from a personal standpoint, a legal one, and then a professional one. Two of our shows that we produce on air, The Practice and Ally McBeal, deal with issues that are not uncommon to the nature of the next of kin bill. It's incredible fodder for our viewers. I have 2 daughters who live in Chicago with their mother. I can't imagine. There are situations when I call back on my certain days of calling, and if I can't get through for whatever reason, my mind goes to panic. And eventually, thank God, knock on wood, it's been for naught. But I would hate to think that in any situation, obviously their mother is the primary caregiver, is there, but in her absence, what would happen if she too were injured? If I didn't know, if I didn't find out about this in a reasonable amount of time, and I say reasonable, and that's to be short-ended on that, I can't be. I have no idea. I stand behind the Greenwalds 100%. Love you guys, and I hope this sees its way through to both the state and the federal legislature. And thank you.
We are part of the largest aging population in the history of man. It is essential to all of us that we begin to implement the kind of legislation that integrates families with health care and maintenance. Thank you for listening.